All right, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today for the Oka Fund grant info session. My name is Samantha, and I'm joined here with my colleague from Gabriel Rebeck. We're both representing Laurasian Institution, which is co-administering the fund alongside the Okas. We're very excited to spend some time just going over what the fund is like, since this is a brand new thing even to us. So we'll spend a little bit of time during this 1 hour session just talking about what we imagine the grant would look like. And of course, opening up the majority of the time for your questions to sort of hear what kind of ideas you have for using the fund, any questions about, reporting or whatever that we may not touch on during this info session. We've got about 45 minutes pinned just for Q&A. So let's jump right in. So that's just a quick overview of our agenda for today. So we'll talk a little bit about who we are again, what our organization is, and then just dive right into the grants. So as you've seen from our website, there are 3 of them. Gabriel will introduce them with some examples that we've come up with. And then I'll finish off with just some of the more pragmatic stuff, eligibility, what we look for in an application, what happens after an application is received, and then we'll be on our way. So let's start off with a quick introduction. So our mission for the Oka Fund is to empower Japanese language teachers, students, and any Japan-focused educational programs or cultural programs around the US through direct, flexible, low burden, and small-scale grants. This is, again, established by Dr. Mayumi Oka and her husband Masao Oka through Laurasian Institution. Quick history, that fund was initially established in 2024, and so this year is our first year of actually allocating grant money towards this. So the funds are the fund is jointly administered by the Okas and Laurasian Institution, which means both parties are involved in the selection process, vetting, etc. For the day-to-day, though, probably you'll hear most likely from me or Gabriel. If you have any questions, or if you submit like a question in our contact form, you'll hear from us at Laurasian Institution. And for those of you who do not know what Laurasian Institution is, we are a nonprofit organization, 35 years going now, I think.
Yeah.
We just celebrated our 35th anniversary. And we have a long history doing various types of US-Japan related programming in the educational and cultural spheres, both programs within the US, Japan-related programs within the US, and programs in Japan. So a little bit about us, you can learn more at our website, but today we are going to be talking about the Oka Fund. So probably you are all coming here with different ideas of like what kind of support you need. And so here's just a quick overview of what types of questions needs we anticipate people having, and what grants we created in order to address that need. So if your program or class, or maybe you've got a special event coming up, needs some financial support, that would be the Program Enrichment and Advocacy Grant, which is also our most robust grant. If you're looking for additional training, certification, anything to sort of bolster your own professional development, then the aptly named Professional Development Grant might be for you. And this is called a Student Assistance Grant, but it's really students of all ages. I don't think we ever said there was like a minimum or maximum age requirement for that at all. Anyone who is pursuing education in Japanese language or cultural education. So to talk more about that, I'm going to pass this on to Gabe, and he'll, like I said, what he's offering is more just ideas we came up with. So these are not in any way to say that like, this is what kinds of things we want to fund. It's just the only things that are, that we're 2 people and we can't anticipate what everyone's needs are. So this will be just a quick overview of what we imagine this grant to be. So Gabe, I will pass this off to you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Yeah, as Sam mentioned, my name is Gabe, and I'm actually joining from the Japan Foundation Nihongo Center in Saitama, if anybody's familiar with that, with any maybe program trainings you may have done here. So happy to be joining from such this nice place, I guess. But I did want to talk a little bit more specifically about what the grants can be used for. We didn't want to just read the website to you because you can find that information on there about what exactly the grants are and what they're supposed to be used for. What we wanted to do is share some specific ideas with you about what they could be used for, and maybe that can sort of help you to figure out if your idea fits in line with what we're sort of thinking about for this fund. So I'd like to start with the Program Enrichment and Advocacy Grant. As Sam mentioned, it's kind of the most habahiroi, sort of widespread. You know, this could be used for various different kind of projects and programs, hopefully with the purpose of supporting your Japanese language program or a Japan America Society or a Japan Club or anything like that. So, Sam, could you please give us the next slide? The first example that we came up with to sort of give you an idea of what kinds of things this could be used for is a Japanese language teacher in high school who would like to hold an open house in order to sort of bolster their program, maybe get more students to sign up for the program, get more parents interested in learning about what they're doing. But they want to get some books, magazines, snacks from Japan to share with people, additional textbooks, dictionaries, that kind of thing, stuff that you can use in the classroom. Props for student performances if you're doing some sort of like, skits or something during this open house. And the projected total cost of this particular open house project was $500. The teacher's asking for $500, and that all fits. So that's one good example of what this could be used for. Sam, if you could give us the next one. Our next example is a nonprofit organization. For example, a Japan America Society or other such similar nonprofit wants to hold some sort of an event. In this case, a Japan festival. Obviously, that's a much larger scale event than the open house we were talking about just a moment ago, but that's also something that could be used. This grant could be used to support for sure. So venue rental fees, honoraria to bring in guests, whether they're speakers, traditional performers or artists, panelists for a discussion, any of those kinds of things. Honoraria is a-okay. You're more than welcome to use this grant to bring people into an event to share culture. So again, this is a much larger scale activity, and this total would be more like $6,000. And in this case, the applicant is asking for $2,000, again, specifically for the rental fees and some honoraria, and they're bolstering this with an additional $4,000 from elsewhere. Maybe it's from local businesses, Nikkei Kigyo, or maybe a school district or something else. But the fund is providing $2,000 for this one. Sam, could you give me the next slide, please? But this, like we said, those are just two kind of basic, simple examples. You could use this for curriculum development, symposia, other sort of cultural or educational events. This one is quite broad, and you're welcome to think about how you could use it, but also maybe ask us some questions at the end if your idea might fit or not. So moving on to the next grant, this is the Educator Professional Development Grant. This one is a little bit more straightforward. I think most people know what we're talking about when we refer to professional development, but this one is specifically for that. Especially, we see the need that a lot of schools do not offer their staff and faculty these professional development grant or support in any way, and we'd like to try to step in and help with that just a little bit. So, Sam, if you could give us the next slide, you can look at our first example. This is a high school Japanese language teacher who would like to learn from other educators, and so they want to go to the CAT-J conference. So in this case, they're requesting for the round trip airfare and some mileage reimbursement, one night's accommodation at this particular conference, and then also the conference registration fee. The total cost is going to be about $750. They're asking for $700, which was those three things I mentioned there, and then they're maybe kicking in $5 or $50 from their own pocket, perhaps, to make this happen. But obviously, using CAT-J is just an attempt to show that these kinds of local or regional conferences are a-okay. If you wanted to use this for ACTFL, that's a-okay. If you wanted to use this for online events that are going on that support professional development, that is totally fine too. So yeah, other examples are these local regional workshops, online workshops, but also certification. If there's some sort of a class that would help you with your teaching, then those are also acceptable under the professional development grant. Okay, Sam, could you give me the next one, please? The last one is that student assistance grant, and this one is for basically anybody who is studying Japanese language. Or rather, it's not even just language. It's anybody who's interested in taking classes. But we also do accept study abroad opportunities under this one as well. It does have to be sort of an ongoing program or something that you've already been accepted into. It can't just be like, I think I'd like to start Japanese from today. So it has to be a little bit more of track record of the study for this one, but it is also fairly broad in its approach to being able to support students. So Sam, next slide, please. This example is a high school student who wants to take the AP Japanese exam and is utilizing the fund to help pay for the exam itself, but also maybe buy some textbooks. So that's $250, and that was all granted. The next example is a much larger endeavor, studying at the Middlebury Institute. And so this one, obviously, the tuition for that is quite a bit higher than that 250 we saw in the last example, but they're requesting $2,000. Maybe they've got funds raised for most of it, but they're just not quite there. That's maybe where this fund can step in and help to pay for some of that tuition, or maybe perhaps the travel for it. So yeah, we realize it's not a massive fund, but we would hope that you would utilize it in situations like this to sort of help get you across the finish line. But other examples include Japanese language proficiency testing. So if you need to, I know that the JLPT is not offered everywhere if you need to travel to go do that. Study abroad programs, like I mentioned earlier, again, you're only going to cover a portion of that, maybe $2,000 for the international airfare, for example, that sort of thing. But language or cultural education programs, anything that's a class that you've been accepted into already or are ongoing, should be okay with this one. So those are the three main categories. And with that, I'm going to throw back to Sam to talk a little bit about the logistics of some of these things, the general details.
Great. Thanks so much, Gabe. And apologies, I know we're talking really fast. We really just want to get us as quick as possible to the Q&A, since I'm sure you've already thought of some of this beforehand. So
are you saying I motor mouthed through that, Sam?
I motor mouthed, I think.
agree.
So just a quick reminder, this is all on our website as well. So eligibility, basically anyone who is participating in Japanese language and language or cultural education. There are individual restrictions per grant category. So as Gabe mentioned with, for example, the student assistance grant, there needs to be some evidence provided that you are enrolled in a training or accepted into a program for that to be able to apply to that grant. Entities that are ineligible are for-profit organizations, as well as any proposals for to pay for salaries, wages, overhead costs, alcohol, gifts, entertainment. We do mention earlier in one of Gabe's examples that honoraria is acceptable. So entertainment is fine, just you can't be, you can't be paying for a full entourage type thing. One thing also that from one of Gabe's earlier examples for travel to CatJ or like Actville, meals are not included in or not eligible for reimbursement or payment from the fund during those kind of like travel things, but your actual travel expenses and mileage are. And so what makes a strong application? And this is just sort of, it's still kind of vague as it seems like these are ideas that we have that we like to see in an application. But again, this is our first round of receiving them. So once we receive them, that will kind of help us better understand all of our target audience for this grant to make sure that we are selecting quality applications and candidates. So in general, what we are looking for is a clear connection to Japanese language, culture, or Japan-focused education. As well as a specific need or opportunity, especially if you are, let's say, if you are a teacher who doesn't have a lot of access to other professional development support from your school district. That's something that we like to see, so that we like to know rather, so that we can prioritize individuals or applicants who may not have other opportunities for this kind of like Gabe said, just getting you over that finish line funding. So we also like to see a realistic plan and budget, something, it doesn't have to be super, super detailed, but we want to see that there's effort thought into like what exactly you are spending this money on. We also like to establish a meaningful impact for yourself as the applicant, your students, your program, your community. The sort of greater that return on investment is, like the happier we are as well. And of course, timing that fits with the Oka Fund application cycle, which is reviewed after every deadline. There's 2 each year. So January 15th, or the first one will be July 15th. And so after that point, we will review all the applications received up until then. Generally, we're looking for expenses that occur about 3 months after that deadline. And that gives us the time to review everything, to notify them or the applicants, and for them to have enough time ahead of time to have that money available to spend. So you can expect notification from us with instructions for receipts, et cetera, about 6 weeks after this deadline. And the award must be accepted within 10 business days. So if we do not hear back after about 10 business days, the money that we would have allocated to that project would just roll into the next review cycle. Payment is usually issued by check once it has been accepted. And within 3 weeks after your project ends, we request that you submit a brief report, including receipts, photos, and a very short narrative. I know some grant applications or post-grant reporting can be quite tedious. So we try to make this as approachable as possible. Hopefully this will be make this a little bit more accessible to you, your students, or anyone else you're thinking of recommending the grants to. So wait, I still have questions. And so at this point, we're going to turn it over to our Q&A. We have about 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes for that Q&A. Gabe will be leading it and I'll be moderating. So if you have a question, please use the raise hand function on Zoom, and then I'll have you speak up. But if you want to send a message to me in the chat as well, you can do that. I'll be monitoring the chat if you prefer to do that rather than raising your hand. So if there are any questions, we'll open to that now. And let me just I'm going to change up my view on Zoom so I can make sure I see everyone's, they've got hands raised. Okay. And I know probably sometimes people are a little nervous to be the first one to speak up. So, oh no, Gabe, I had a question for you and I've forgotten it.
Oh, I did have a comment about that reporting thing. Yeah, one of the ideas of this fund is we want to make it easy and accessible, and we don't want people to be bogged down with all the sort of like nitty-gritty of applying for the grant and then reporting after the grant and budgets and that kind of thing that we're all kind of familiar with. And actually, the original idea was to do it without any requirement for submitting receipts afterwards, too. We wanted to make it that simple. And we spoke with our financial advisors, and they said, oh, no, that's illegal. Unfortunately, in order to give this kind of grant, you must have the proper reporting. So unfortunately, we do have to require those receipts. But yeah, we appreciate your understanding on that. We wanted to make it easier.
All right. Gabe, we have a question from the chat. So what's the due date again for the grants, if you could remind us?
July 15th is the upcoming, the soonest upcoming cycle. There will be another one in January of 2027. That will also be January 15th. So July 15th and January 15th are our 2 current deadlines. Those will just kind of continue into the future. Yeah, basically that's it. You can just submit by those dates.
Yeah. And it is quite a long sort of period in between. And part of the reason for that is we're not really sure what to expect when it comes to applications. So this for now is what's manageable. That it may change though, and that will be reflected on our website if it does. But for the time being, two deadlines per year.
The idea being basically that July deadline would be able to support things going on in the fall semester, and then January would be for the spring and possibly summer. We tried to choose dates that would work out for you.
I did have a question, Gabe, actually. What about if we have like a multi-year sort of thing that we want to do? Let's say it was like like curricular development, but that would be something that would take maybe 1 to 2 years to do.
At this stage, that might be a little bit difficult. You can certainly feel free to let us know. We'd be happy to review those applications. But the idea at this point is that most projects are expected to be completed within 6 months of the award. So multi-year projects are not currently within the scope, but I would still encourage people to reach out to us and contact us. We're interested in seeing what the grant might be capable of covering, and so that might be difficult at this time, but still let us know. We'd still be happy to take a look at it.
Yeah, thanks. And then there's a question here in the chat: is the application on the website?
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, there is a button in the top right that says "Apply Now." Apply now, is that what it is?
I think so, or just apply.
Or just apply. Yeah, on the website, it should be pretty simple. There's a form that will come up, and so just click that apply button. You'll see all the information right there. Sam, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've made an example form that people can review in advance.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, so when you go to the application page, there should be, I believe, at the top of that page. Let me just look at it again to refresh my memory and make sure I am not mistaken about this. But I believe there's a link to a form, like a PDF form for of all of the oh, hang on. I don't see it here. I think it might be under, let me see. Oh, you know what? I think that's disappeared from where I thought it was on the website. So let me make sure that's on there again. But we do have a PDF version of the entire application form. So if you wanted to prepare something ahead of time, you can have that to refer to. I'll make sure it gets uploaded to the website later today, actually. So if anyone looks at it, you'll be able to download it from there. But yeah, if it makes preparation a little bit easier to see all that beforehand, that should be there. The form does, however, like save your progress as you complete it. Even if you close your browser and you walk away from it, as long as you haven't like cleared your history or cookies or something like that, the info you've added to the form will all be saved. The only things that don't get saved are any like file uploads. So if you uploaded like your resume or something like that, you will have to re-upload it, but the form will prompt you if that information is missing. So I do have another question then, Gabe, since if I think I saw in our in the mission, it's these grants are meant to support not just within the US but beyond. So if I'm living abroad, for example, but I am, let's say, attending a program in Japan or a program in the US for Japanese language or culture, could I still apply?
The answer to that is yes. This is an international grant. Obviously, we're focused mostly on US and Japan, and so that's going to be a little bit easier. But we do not have a limitation based on country. You might want to let us know because we might have to figure out financial details of how to get the payment to you if you do not have a US-based bank account. But we are willing to support programs that are in other countries or people coming from other countries in order to study either in the US or Japan. Those are acceptable as well. So yes.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the good folks in the audience here? Okay.
Well, it seems like not too many questions, so I might just take one more opportunity to say we wanted this fund to be sort of flexible and easy and just really go to helping people who have legitimate need for Japanese language, education-based initiatives, professional development, any other kinds of sort of impactful programs for getting the word out, either in the United States about Japan or maybe helping with education in Japan as well. And so if anybody does have future questions about how we could maybe use this grant to support them in other ways that we haven't thought of, please feel free to reach out to us even after this session, or if you're watching this on YouTube where it will be later, feel free to reach out to us. The grant, as Sam mentioned, is new and it's growing, and we definitely have big hopes for it to be very impactful and helpful for people in the future. But we can only go so far. We can only do so much with our sort of plans prior to hearing how people really want to utilize it. So we're very open to feedback and questions about that sort of thing. And it looks like we've got a few more coming in here. So
yes, yeah, we do. So first, would it be all right to apply for more than one grant? So one for an event and another for Japanese class materials, for example.
The answer to that question right now is yes, absolutely. There's no rule saying you can't apply for two. I would maybe let you know that we will see both and take that into account, and sort of, looking at the amount of funds available to disperse for any given cycle. We'll sort of keep that in mind. So you're more than welcome to ask for two. And if it looks like two complementary programs that look like they're a really good opportunity to do together, then there's a possibility we might fund both. So certainly give it a try. But we may prioritize other people who are only getting, or maybe only give you the one and then prioritize somebody else at the same time, if that makes sense.
Great, thank you. We have another question. So someone has started a small Japanese school here in the US. Do we have funding for these types of small startups?
Yes, absolutely. And that would be the Program Enrichment and Advocacy Grant. So that was the one I was talking about earlier that would maybe support a program or Japan America Society. This one, although I do have to ask, is it for profit? That's a big question. Can I ask a follow-up question? When you say startup, I wonder about that.
Yeah. And you can
tell you what, I'll just go ahead and answer.
Yes, for profit.
Unfortunately, for-profit institutions are not eligible for the grants, I'm sorry to say. So sorry about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it is a school, I know that education is something that we do support. So maybe if you want to talk a little bit more about what type of school you have, like the structure of it, please send us an email. The next slide will actually have our email address, but feel free to contact us so we can kind of, we can't get into the details here, but we'd love to hear more and see if there is something that could fit for you.
Yeah, I'm curious if it would fit, or if there's some way that it could fit, even despite being, because I assume you have very pure intentions with your startup, and we're cheering for you too. So get in touch with us.
Yes. So the next question we have here is, how often can I apply for the grant, and can any of the grants cover a teacher's salary?
Great questions. I got a good answer for the first one and maybe a tough answer for the second one. How often can I apply? We have no rules. Like I said earlier, you could even apply for two at the same time if you want. There's no specific rule saying you can't apply with every single cycle. But I again would just maybe let you know, we'll be aware. We'll see how often you've been awarded, and we'll try to be equitable in the way that we sort of disperse the funds. So if we feel like you've gotten a bunch, we might prioritize other people before we give you another grant, but you're more than welcome to try. Yeah, you're more than welcome to try. Unfortunately, teachers' salaries cannot be covered. So an external performer or lecturer or somebody coming in on a one-time or short-term basis honoraria, that is okay. Those would be okay. However, a teacher's salary is something that we are not able to help support at this time. So I would utilize, my personal recommendation would be to utilize, for example, the Program Enrichment and Advocacy Grant to try to get people interested in the program. We want to help strengthen programs in order to get the districts to notice that they're strong and robust and powerful, and lots of people are interested in them. And then hopefully the district would then allocate funds for teacher salaries. So I would utilize this for program advocacy. But unfortunately, salary is not something that we can cover.
Yeah. There are other grants out there that do support teacher salaries. Just one of our partners, actually, the Japan Foundation in Los Angeles, of course, if you're not already familiar, they do offer that. I know it can be quite competitive, but there are other funding opportunities for that type of issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So Gabe, I do have another question actually. So if I'm a teacher and I have a student who wants to apply for the student assistance grant, for example, should I be filling that out for them, or is that something that they should do themselves?
Great question. Tell the student to do it.
Yeah.
We love the idea of teachers recommending that their students utilize these grants. We absolutely would recommend, if you want to talk about it in your classes, or share our link to your students and tell them that this is a good opportunity for them. That's fantastic. If you want to give them a little bit of coaching, that's fine too, if that's what you want to do. But please let the students fill out the applications themselves. We do not have a specific sort of dedicated form for teachers to fill out on behalf of somebody else. So please have your students do it.
All right, so we still have a lot of time left. Oh, and we've got another question here. Another follow-up actually related to the startup earlier. Even though we are a nonprofit, can students apply to study at the school using the grants?
Yes, the answer to that is yes. So in this case, what we would be supplying the money for is for the student tuition, and that is okay with the fund. We can't directly support a for-profit, so we couldn't give the school, if it's a for-profit school, we could not give you a grant for like an event or something like that. However, we are more than okay with providing tuition money to students in order to study at a for-profit school. That's fine.
Great. Right. Thank you all so much for putting your questions in the chat. Please keep doing that. And you're welcome to those of you who have thanked us in the chat. Please keep up the chat. Like I said, we've blocked off our time for another 30 minutes or so here, and if we don't need to use that whole time, that's totally fine as well. But we want to make sure that there's enough opportunity for everyone to have their questions out there if they would like to ask it. So, oh, thank you, Uchiyama Sensei. It was nice to see your name in the Zoom meeting as well.
Yeah, nice to see a few familiar faces. Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
Any other questions for us? If you've got a question, it might help other people too. So feel free to ask anything. Don't be embarrassed. It's a very teacherly thing to say, right? I guess that's appropriate in this context.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe sort of a last call for questions, and then
Yeah.
start considering wrapping up if we've got nothing else.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. And again, we will have other opportunities, of course, to connect with you. If you have questions later on or anytime through the application process, like we were saying, this is a very new thing for us, and we're learning along with you. And so it really helps us to hear all of your questions and get an idea of what the need is out there, really, because we have impressions of it, and certainly Oka Sensei does as well, which is why she wanted to establish this grant. But until we actually hear from people who will be using it, we're sort of creating these ideas ourselves. So this has been really, really helpful for me, I think, to understand a little bit better of what the needs are out there. All right. Well, all right. If we don't have any more questions, it looks like we're all good in the chat. I'm going to move us on to wrap up here. So, Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks to
So
Momi-sensei.
here's our website. If you haven't already been there, of course, and okafund.org. If you have any further questions, please email us at info@laurasian.org. We check that very regularly, and we try to get back to you as soon as we can, because I know these kind of small scale opportunities don't come around, and I think grants are always, they're tough, and we try to make this process as pain-free as possible. Any other questions, feedback that you have, please share it with us there. Thank you again for taking this time to meet with us today. We hope to see an application from you all very soon. So, arigatou gozaimashita. Fun.
Thanks,
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.